Welcome back to Nightly Nonsense, where we make some sense out of the nonsense. Hey, we're in John. We're in chapter 10. We're talking about this Good Shepherd parable, right? I want to pick it up in verse, at the middle of verse 3. We did that. To him, the gatekeeper opens. So he opens the gate, right, to the shepherd. But then it says this, the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name, and he leads them out. I did some research. You should do some research too, right? Very wealthy, rich men had a sheepfold that was all their own, right? But lots of shepherds shared a sheepfold, right? There would be herds of sheep that would come in. Each shepherd would deposit their sheep. So the good shepherd would come to the gate and he would call out his sheep. And he knows them by name and he leads them out. Right, there's a lot to unpack here. The first part of this would be if there's a whole bunch of different sheep in there from different shepherds, right? How are they not going to go with each other? How are shepherds not going to gain sheep because some sheep want to go out here? Well, it's because it's by name, right? And the shepherd walks to the gate, the gatekeeper opens the gate, and then the shepherd calls his sheep, and only his sheep come out. Man, there's a lot of truth in this that you don't even have to stretch very far for, right? It means that there are sheep in the sheepfold that aren't the shepherds. The shepherd may not call all of them. He may not know some of them by name. Now you look at this and you put this in, right, conjunction with what Jesus said about, hey, there's going to be people in the last days that stand before me and they're going to say, hey, we knew you, Jesus. We claimed you. We did healing in your name. We prophesied in your name. We did all kinds of stuff. And Jesus is going to look at them and say, I never knew you. I didn't know your name. That's hard to imagine, right? But there's going to be people who have been going to church. They're in the sheepfold. But if Jesus walked to the door today and he called out his, they wouldn't be called. Sitting in the sheepfold doesn't make you the shepherd's sheep. The shepherd knowing your name makes you the shepherd's sheep. Do you understand that? Just being in the sheepfold, just knowing the shepherd's name, doesn't make you the shepherd's sheep. The only thing that makes you the shepherd's sheep is if he calls you by name and he leads you out. This might very well be the shortest nightly nonsense. I don't know. I always say that and then go on for 10 minutes, right? But here's the simplicity of this. Does the shepherd know your name? Is he calling you out and would you go? So think about this. If you're sitting in church this Sunday, this whatever day, and you're sitting there with a group of people, all claiming to be part of the sheepfold, all part of the sheepfold, and Jesus came to the back of the door, right? Came to the back of the church, right? Came through the front door, walked in, came to the back of the church, and called out those who were his. Would you go? Would your name be called? Again, it's not because you're sitting there. You might assume that your name would be called. You just go with everybody. No, it's not just everybody's going. It's one by one, God's calling them out by name. Jesus is calling them out by name. Would Jesus be calling your name? Just because you're sitting in the sheepfold doesn't mean that he knows your name. Think about that. We're going to pick it up tomorrow night, right here, Nightly Nonsense.